Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to review WWE Survivor Series
Survivor.
2024. I am your host, Phil. This is Tales from the Turnbuckle. And with me, as always, is my co-host, D'Lo. Say what up, D'Lo.
What's up, guys?
And we are here to talk nothing but WWE and Survivor Series. D'Lo, let me ask you straight out the gate. What'd you think of the show overall?
Honestly, man, I was pretty impressed with it, man. I thought that almost all the matches throughout had some good high spots and things like. I mean, there were definitely some points where it was like, oh god damn, you know what I mean. But for the most part, I was thoroughly impressed. I thought that they some of the storylines are able to be carried on beyond the Survivor Series, and they also killed some of the other storylines that were coming to a close. And I just think Hunter's got a
Hey, hold
handle on
on.
this shit right now, man.
We got Bennett in the house. Bennett's joining us on Tales from the
Yo,
Turnbuckle. Late.
what up, Bennett?
I don't remember Bennett ever having a dog. Oh, what up, Bennett? You there?
I am. What's up, fellas?
We're just doing a
What up,
little
buddy?
tilt from the Turnbuckles where we're going over. We just started it. Survivor Series last night.
Yeah, you didn't like the one we did with Sally from the alley?
No, I ended up deleting all those. I was. So this is just a straight recap. We're going to try to keep it under 30 minutes where we just talk Survivor Series. And D'Lo, I didn't mean to cut you off there, D'Lo, when we found out, but D'Lo was just giving us his overall thoughts on the night. Do you need to continue, D'Lo?
No, like I said, just I thought it was pretty decent, man. I really did.
Hey, so
I
in
thought
melts
they
and
put in.
stars, 5 stars, what would you give this pay-per-view out of 5
I
stars?
probably 3.5 to a 4, man. I thought it was decent. So
All right, Bennett, I'll ask you. You watched it with me last night. Star ranking, what'd you think of the show? What would you give this pay-per-view last night out of 5 stars?
2.5 stars.
2.5 stars. And why only 2.5?
Because it was what it was. It was not great. It was good, but not great. But it was not terrible. The ladies' match, as we talked about last night, every time a woman came out, they took extra time to look for weapons. Sometimes they didn't find the weapons. Instead of getting in there and helping out their team, which a lot of times their team was getting their ass whipped while they were looking for weapons under the ring. Also, a lot of the moves either were like totally botched and missed and not even close, to where other moves were really sloppy and you could tell that somebody didn't even know they was coming before they got blasted from behind. And then the 3 matches that were not the War Games matches, they wasn't bad, but they wasn't great. Nothing like blew the lid off of anything. Shinsuke winning the belt, I thought that was a nice change. They can always go back to LA Knight if they want to.
Agree. Yeah, I think we all agree on that. That was a nice surprise last night.
And then the other 2 was pretty much what we thought they were going to be, but there was nothing like big in either one of the matches. And the War Games match, it was good, but nothing really stood out. There's not like any big surprises.
We're going to break them down. We're going to break them down, and we're going to start with the women's match last night. And in that match, we got Team Rhea Ripley defeating Team Liv in the opener War Games match for women's. It lasted, the time on here says 38 minutes, but I think that they count it from the time that you had all 5 on 5 in, because altogether, this match went almost an hour. So it says 38 minutes on here, but altogether, like I said, I believe that once they got them all, they were like, the referee says, or the announcer gets on and says, War Games is officially started. But we saw Team Rhea advancing over Team Liv, and I agree with what Bennett said, because we sat here and watched it together. There was botches. I would say 95% of the botches in the match came from Nia Jax. just how it is.
Oh yeah.
And she is ruthless, D'Lo. I don't know if you saw that. Half the shit, I don't know if the people knew was coming. She would just ram them over, hit them in the back of the head. That woman is destructive in there in that ring. I did say last night that I thought we were going to get a title change. I believe that mid-match or somewhere, Tiffany Stratton was going to cash in. She attempted to, acted like she was going to, did not. I felt like at the end it was a perfect time with Liv down. Rodriguez was handcuffed. It was a perfect time for her to cash in and get that. They didn't go with it there. But D'Lo, your thoughts on this match alone? What'd you think?
I think I agree with what you guys said. You could definitely see the botches that were happening in the match, but I felt like that they had enough high spots throughout the match to cover up some of those botches. Man, I mean, those I never expect a great match out of the girls anyway, but to me it was entertaining. Especially when Nia Jax was just demolishing people. I thought that was kind of funny, but
did you love?
You know,
I loved, and this is what I wanted to bring up real quick to D'Lo and ask your opinion on it. I loved Rhea Ripley's mask that she wore down there last night.
Yeah, it was really dope. Yeah. She looked crazy last night, man. And then she had like the it almost looked like Apache fucking warrior paint. Like it was wild looking, man. So
kind of reminded me of what is that? They just came out with it, Omarosa, or it's not Omarosa, it's
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That new movie,
Mel Gibson started the original. Yeah.
Furiosa or something.
Yeah, it's like Mad Max Saga. That's what she looked like when she finally took the mask off and had the face painting on. It reminded me of that. I just thought it was excellent. And I was telling Bennett, I said, man, I hope she wears that in the ring and delivers those headbutts that she uses with that mask on, because it was a double horn mask where you had like two horns, but then it had the Rams horns on it too. I just thought, man, this was
yeah, it was like a devil goat or something. It was crazy, man.
Yeah. Who did you think stood out in this match? Was there one person that stood out, or two people or whatever that stood out in this women's match to you?
Man, it's unfortunate because who's the girl? Was it Io Sky, the one that got up on top of the cage with the trash can on top of her and flipped or whatever? I think that was Io Sky. Anyway, I noticed that girl actually, she has some skills as a wrestler, man, and she's just never going to get the kind of push that Bailey or Rhea Ripley or one of them's going to get. She just, number one, I don't even know how much English she can speak, and number two, I just don't think she had.
She's a former. I don't know if it was the Universal or the World's Women's title. One of the two. She won it just last year. She had it. She won.
But you didn't see her getting the kind of push like a Charlotte Flair or somebody did. You know what I mean? When they were on top. So
what did you think of her moonsault with the trash can on her head?
Oh, it was crazy, man. Like that was a crazy high spot right there, man, where her and Tiffany both got up on the two corners of the ring, and Tiffany did a front flip, and Io Sky did a moonsault with the trash can over the top of her. She's just lucky that she landed on the group of people that were down there waiting. So
yeah, that was risky
for a casual fan, man. Like I said, for a casual fan, like you and Bennett, y'all have your insight on things, and you know, instantly you guys, your wrestling mind comes out when you watch wrestling, and you're like, I would have done it different this way, or I would have wrote the storyline different this way. I thought, and I haven't been watching a whole lot of Raw or SmackDown. I'm trying to catch a little bit of it, but it was entertaining last night, man. It was.
So. Well, my insights come from, I got a guy on the inside. His name's JC. I got his number. I can call him anytime you want me to.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, Bennett needs Jesus. Bennett needs Jesus. So.
Yes. I thought overall there was botches in the match, but it kept me entertained. I agree with what Bennett was saying, where it just seemed, it was funny to us that they had the advantage, Team Liv had the advantage last night, I believe. Is that right? Or no, I think Rhea Ripley's team had the advantage. But it cracked me up that when your people are in there, they're getting beat up, they're getting attacked, and yet your first thought is to go look underneath the ring. We saw it differently in the men's match when like Jey Uso, he ran down there because they had the disadvantage. So every time
I think that that possibly could come from something like a Hunter sitting there listening to them go over their match and saying, "Look, man, like we understand their shortcomings as wrestlers, and so let's flood the ring with weapons so when they can't perform like they need to, like the guys can, we'll have trash cans and kendo sticks and
I'm all for weapons in it. It's war games. I'm all for having weapons in there. But it cracked us up that if you are already at a disadvantage and it's 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, and you're coming out to even the odds, and yet instead of getting in there and helping the two people that are getting attacked by 3, you're spending all this time looking underneath the ring. And why it's not set up right there by the door for you to just flip it up, pull out what you want. Half the time they lift up the curtain, look underneath, they go somewhere else and look up underneath, and it's like they're dying inside. They are being beat down with chairs, kendo sticks. Get in there and help these people, for heaven's sakes. That's the only thing. I mean, there was some botches in it, but the match kept me entertained, and that's what I care about. I wanted to be entertained, and they kept me entertained throughout the whole
much
match.
more than we could say. Much more than we can say for most AEW matches.
That's 100% true. Let's move on to the next match that we had on the night, and we had a surprise here. We had Shinsuke Nakamura coming back in a short. There wasn't much buildup storyline wise to this, but they pulled a trigger and had him defeat LA Knight to win the United States Championship match in a match that lasted just under 10 minutes. What was your thoughts on this match, D'Lo?
I was very happy. I don't think that by any means that the match was a 5-star match. It was only 10 minutes or whatever. But I hope that they give Shinsuke a little bit of a push. I know he doesn't have any promo skills really, like because his I don't know communication problem issues with I whatever. But all I'm saying is I've liked his character for a long time, and it's good to see that he finally got a strap. And let's hope they give him a little bit of a push. So, like you said, they can swing LA Knight right back in at any moment. He can swing back in and draw the crowd in and become a favorite. And,
LA Knight is over, and unfortunately, what we did say about this match last night was both guys in it. They're past 40 years old. I think they were like 41 and 42 years old.
So do you think that maybe Triple H understands that LA Knight's probably only got a couple of great years left, and maybe they should go ahead and try to push him for something a little bigger than the United States title? Maybe they should try to get him in the world title running or something.
Well, yeah,
because he is so over.
Well, yeah, they pushed him towards the world title last year. He had a match over in Saudi Arabia against Roman before Roman dropped the belt to Cody Rhodes. And it's just like they were finally listening to the crowd because LA Knight, as me and Bennett have said, his wrestling is subpar at best, but his catchphrases are over with the fans. Every time he comes out, the fans chant along with him, whether he's doing the LA Knight, let me talk to you. It's over. I just don't know if they're ever going to put one of the world titles on him. I hope they do because he is entertaining in that aspect. He really is. But I don't
even if they don't put a strap on him because he's so over, a feud between him and somebody like a Gunther again or something like that would probably be a good draw. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if they don't end up putting a strap on him, do you use him for a feud against one of those world title guys? But then again, I mean, with Roman being back and all this, you don't want to try to flood everybody at the top, man. Like that's kind of a problem the AEW's had is they've just continued to bring guys in, and each new guy gets stuck right at the top, man. And there's just too many up there competing for the spotlight.
Yeah. No, he's over. He's over, and sometimes you put a belt on a guy to help get him over. And in this instance, you don't have to. But if the fans, sometimes the fans want what they want, and they will force Triple H or they will force WWE to make a title change because they want it bad. We've seen it with Kofi when Kofi Mania happened and Kofi beat Daniel Bryanson at WrestleMania. We've seen instances like this. I do see them. I see that why they did this last night. It was a shocker. Nobody was expecting Shinsuke to win the belt. So now this puts a little bit more into it. I could see LA Knight winning the belt back, maybe at the Royal Rumble, something like that. So this might be a short title run for Shinsuke, but it was something that Shinsuke needed. He needed a big win. They had kept LA Knight. They had protected him. He hadn't taken a loss, I think it said, since July. And he was over with the fans. So this title loss isn't going to hurt him. It's going to push him to get the belt back, and it will happen. So
okay. Yeah, so my only question here is, what's that, bud?
Bennett had some audio issues, so he had to dip out. I don't know if he's going to get it fixed to come join us back or not, but he was having some audio issues with his phone. So
my question is, do you think they're probably going to end up sticking a manager with Shinsuke or something to do most of his promo work? Because otherwise, I feel like his title reign is going to be short lived if he can't get up there and do a good promo, or have somebody there like a Paul Heyman to do the promo for him.
It's the issue, though. Outside of Paul Heyman, managers in WWE are almost non-existent. I mean,
yeah, and the old generation are too old to come back and do anything. Like there used to be that guy that had the crazy eyebrows and shit.
Well, there is no more Jimmy Hart. There is no more. Trying to think of Bobby the Brain Heenans, Jim Cornette's. There aren't any guys like that except for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is the only manager that you really have in WWE. There is one with the Final Testament on Raw, old school. I for whatever reason I'm trying to remember his name. He used to be with the Road Warriors back in the 80s. Paul Ellerling, that's who he is. But I mean, he's pretty old, and he was never known for talking on the mic anyway. But there is no Mr. Fuji's anymore. There is no.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like man, you don't have a Fuji anymore. But I do remember when MVP started coming back, he was like the main speaker for the Hurt. Well, what is it? The Hurt. Yeah,
now it's the Hurt Syndicate, but it used to be the Hurt Business. Yeah.
Yeah, so MVP was like
it's something like that. There used to be, I think, I don't know if he died or whatever, but there was a guy in WCW that did that, Sonny Ono.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And stuff, but that would be something that I would like to see WWE bring back is the managers, the straight up Weasley managers that get their wrestlers matches, get them title matches, get them more money. We just don't have that anymore. That's something that WWE is lacking from the old school generation of the 80s and 90s. I would love to see more managers brought back into the WWE.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you had everything from a little fat guy that supposedly had supernatural type of powers in Paul Bearer to a dude that was actually pretty fit and was kind of an enforcer type in Virgil and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, so it went from two opposite sides of the spectrum back then, and there was guys all in between that, and the managers played
pay a guy that wasn't a wrestler on the payroll anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what killed off the managers, but I'm telling you now, I would love to see some old school managers brought back into wrestling. I think that it's desperately needed in pro wrestling these days, is to have that old school manager. And most of them were all heels, but they would buy for other talent, and they would get those guys their matches, more money, which is what wrestling was all about. So I would love to get back to that. I really would.
Yeah, yeah, and it can't be a guy that just comes and stands on the side of the ring and doesn't say anything and
No,
doesn't
they
do,
got to
you
be
know
the
what I mean?
mouthpiece.
Like,
Got to be the
yeah,
mouthpiece.
yeah, they've got to be the front runner, and yeah, absolutely. Like, they would have to match Heyman's energy to be able to probably make it happen.
I agree. I agree 100%.
So,
All right, on to the third match that we had last night, and we knew it was going to be good. It was a three-way match for the Intercontinental Championship, as Braun Breaker kept his title, defeating Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser, both by pinfall last night, in a match that lasted just over 14 minutes. What was your thoughts on Braun Breaker keeping the Intercontinental title last night?
they're pushing Braun Breaker. A lot of people are high on him.
I call him
Maybe it's
he's not just the future WWE. He's a future multi-time world champion that just hasn't been crowned yet.
and that's a possibility, man. A lot of people would put that on his DNA. He's a Steiner,
Yep.
so I mean, if you look at Rick and Scott Steiner, those dudes were monsters. Um, and I'm sure he learned from everything that I understand. Those guys could be pretty rough in the ring, so I'm sure he learned from coming up rough. So as far as learning the business, but because he makes it look good in there, man. I mean, he makes it look like he's hurting people, but I mean, you haven't heard anything about him being somebody that's reckless or anything in there, so that's a good thing.
I talked about Bennett, and I was talking to him about it last night, and I was just like, his speed. And he's like, that's just something they concocted up. And I'm like, nah, man, that dude's got legitimate speed off those ropes. You call it whatever you want to, but
I do believe he was a Division I football player, man. So he's an athlete, bro.
State. He was a running back there, a fullback. He did play. He signed right. Didn't get drafted, but he signed after the draft with the Ravens. Spent 1 year with them before just saying, yeah, his heart wasn't with it, or he wasn't going to go far in football, and decided to get into pro wrestling and got trained by his father and his uncle. And
yeah, so he's definitely an athlete, man. I mean, if he made it in the NFL even for a year, that's more than Brock Lesnar can say. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But
Your thoughts on Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser in this match?
Dude, I've always been a little bit of a fan of Sheamus. I hate seeing him be like the squash guy all the time, man. I'd like to see something happen with him. I don't know what. Maybe put him with a good tag team and push him in the tag team division. I'm not sure, but I'd like to see something happen with Sheamus before his run's over. You know what I mean?
One of the big things, anytime that they have him in a match with the Intercontinental title, that is the one belt Sheamus never has held. He's held both tag team titles. He's held the United States. He's held both world titles. He's won Royal Rumbles, Money in the Banks. But the one title that has eluded Sheamus his whole career, that's stopping him from being a Grand Slam champion, is the Intercontinental title.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels like I said, it just feels like here lately, everything I've been seeing, he's kind of gotten squashed a little bit, but
what about Kaiser?
Ludwig Kaiser, I think the dude's a decent performer. I don't know how far they're going to continue to run with this Imperial or the Imperium or whatever it's called.
Well, they pretty much have diluted it. Gunther had told Kaiser to go up on his own and to make a name for himself. So that's why he got in. He attacked Braun Breaker and Sheamus and stuff. He's kind of gone up on his own. If you don't know this, Ludwig Kaiser is actually dating Tiffany Stratton and has been for a long time.
No, I didn't know all that. No.
Yep. Why would you?
So
It's shit that
yeah.
only people that have no life would know, and I get that, but um, he's got something to him. Bennett loves him. Bennett was like loves his arrogance, loves all that. I would like to see him put on some more muscle. He looked
Well,
a little
that's kind of
thin.
the whole thing, man. Is there's some guys that are not going to be light heavyweight and heavyweight guys, and that's where it hurts. Back in the day, like your intercontinental champions and shit used to be kind of the smaller guys and shit like that. Like, I mean, I guess that's not necessarily true because you had Jake the Snake and shit as the intercontinental champ and all that. But
Jake never won the
maybe.
Intercontinental title.
Oh, Jake never did. Okay,
No,
Honky Tonk Man. Well, he
Honky Tonk
wasn't
Man.
he wasn't small by any means. You know
No,
what I
but
mean?
it's
So
always been like a stepping stool. Long before
yeah,
all these other
right.
belts were brought in, it was like if you were about to get a run with the heavyweight belt, they would always test you out with the Intercontinental and see how you did. Austin
Well,
had it.
and,
Rock
and
had
I
it with
always
Nate.
I always feel like that, and like the U.S. title, the hardcore title, all that shit was there in place for guys that they felt were solid talents, but they were never going to get to that level of being like that heavyweight champion guy. Too, they could stick that belt on him and say, "All right, man, he can have a little run with this title," and hopefully that's satisfying for him because we're not going to give him a push with the big boys. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
And
sometimes.
that's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how I feel with that Ludwig Kaiser or whatever. I just don't feel like he's up to the point where he can get around. I just can't. I can't ever picture a situation where you know he's in the ring talking shit and coming down the ramp to talk shit back to him or shoot a promo or whatever is The Rock. I just can't see that. You know what I mean? Like he's never going to be on that level, man.
No, he's always going to
So
be like that guy that's mid card status, never really reaches the main event level. Um,
yeah.
always maybe right under it, but never gets it. And I mean, and it's crazy that we're saying this because he's very young in his career, but he did start off as a tag team, part of Imperium in NXT. But they split him up not long after their main roster. He got split up with his tag team partner Giovanni. And that dude's floundered. They tried to repackage him several times, and it's just not working. But Kaiser does
Yeah.
have something. I don't see main event in his future. So
And I mean, that's okay, man. There's been plenty of guys throughout WWE history that have been on the roster for 10, 15 years that have been those guys that have been mid card guys. People love them. They get over with the fans. Either they're a good heel or they're a good baby face, and that's fine. You don't belong in the main event, and you got to know your place there, man. So
I agree. All right, we'll go on to the next match, and that was Gunther, the world heavyweight champion. Gunther defended his title last night by forcing Damian Priest to go to sleep. It was a technical submission. Damian Priest didn't tap out. The ref called for the bell when he noticed it. The weird part about this one in this match, man, was towards the end, I had called that I thought Finn Balor was going to cost him the match, and he did. He ran down. The weird part was that Gunther delivered a mean ass kick to Finn Balor, kind of like in weird form that a heel would attack another heel, but it was like he's like, I don't want your help, I don't need your help, and then went in there and choked out Damian Priest. What do you think about this matchup?
and again, another entertaining match. I don't know. Damon Priest. I like Damon Priest. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I don't know what the next move is for him, and they're gonna continue to throw people in front of Gunther. He's another one that, like you said about Braun Breaker. I mean, Gunther's the future of the organization. They're going to continue to push him and shit. So,
I feel like Damian Priest is kind of He could have been like Kaiser, how we were just talking about with Kaiser, where they did give him the world title. And I felt like after he dropped the world title, he meant more to the company without the title belt on him than what he did when he had the title belt on. I never really truly believed in him as the world champion when he had the belt on him. He might be one of those guys where he's better at the chasing the title,
Yeah,
but
I
not
can
actually
see that.
winning it. He
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of like a Kane, a Jack Swagger, a Mark Henry. Nothing against those guys, but in my opinion, maybe Kane, but not Jack Swagger and not Mark Henry. I didn't ever see them as legit world champions. Like I always felt
Yeah,
like when they put the belt
maybe
on them,
it's one of those deals that it's like it seems like they've got so much going on outside of the ring. Like he had the faction with Dom and Rhea and all that. Maybe it seems like they got so much going on outside of the ring that it's hard to see them as a focused world champion. I'm not sure, man. Like, but I see what you're saying, man, for sure.
I just don't like when I like Damian Priest matches. They're not bad, but nothing screams out like I want to drop my money. I want to pay money to see this guy wrestle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that might seem harsh criticism, but
and I almost feel like that's kind of how things would have been for MJF if he would have came to the WWE. He might have had a little bit of a run because they knew he was popular coming in, but they probably would have ended up burying him in mid card, and that's probably where Damon Priest is going to end up. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be challenging a Shinsuke or challenging a LA Knight for a number one contender for Shinsuke's title and things like that. You know what I mean?
With you on the MJF, I feel like MJF is the best on the mic in the business. Period.
I think WWF. I think WWE would have squashed him, dude. No doubt about it. In my opinion, I think they would have. I think they would have buried him in the roster, and they may have given him a little bit of a run, but I don't think that they would have given him what you thought. When I remember when he was a free agent, and you were like, "Dude, there's a chance he could be over WWE." Da, 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 da. And he ended up re-signing with AEW. But I gotta believe that in his honest, he thought in his mind, my best opportunity to be the main event is probably here in AEW.
I don't think he cared about main event. I think what he cared about was the money, and that's why he signed with AEW, because I believe that Tony Khan is paying him like $4 or $5 million a year, and WWE wasn't going to offer that right out of the gate. They were willing to pay him. They would have probably paid him $2-3 million, but they weren't going to pay him $5 million out of the gate. But you don't sign a guy for $2 or $3 million and not push him towards the top.
Is that a fact? I mean, because right now I believe there's a main event star that's sitting at home and he's making about $10 million a year.
But he's also got some other he's got some shit attached with him that they're trying to.
His name has not been his name officially has not been thrown into any of it. It just the lady the court filing stated a former UFC champion requested pictures of her peeing on somebody or whatever it was.
I don't know what it is. It's unfortunate because I am a huge fan of Brock Lesnar, and it's unfortunate. I do see him coming back eventually. They're going to bring him back when you probably least expect it. That's what Triple H is all about. That's what he's masterful about, is giving you a surprise that you didn't even know that you wanted. And
well, you would have thought, man, with the new bloodline or whatever it was, with them bringing in whoever that big guy was, Bronson Reed. You would have thought Paul Heyman would have brought in Brock Lesnar as their big guy, but he ended up bringing in Punk, and it was a little surprising. It really was, man. Like, because you're like, what? Like, I mean, I know there's a history there, whatever, but like,
I called it
what?
and I loved it. I loved it.
I thought it would be Brock Lesnar when Heyman come out and was like, "This is going to be a 5-on-5." I was like, he's going to bring out Lesnar, dude. Like,
it would have made more sense with them. Here's what I will agree with them bringing Bronson Reed in on the new bloodline, and he's like this monster and this big guy. I would agree that in the sense of bringing Lesnar in to battle their monster, Lesnar bringing in his monster, that would have been awesome. But they gave us what they gave us, and I was still happy with it. And I guess with that, we'll go straight to the main event match last night, and it was the second War Games of the night, and we got the OG bloodline, Roman Reigns, the Usos, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk defeating the new bloodline of Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Bronson Reed in a match that it's officially listed as almost 42 minutes, but I got to believe that the match lasted over an hour once everybody when everybody was getting in the ring and everything else. So,
for sure.
What was your opinion on Roman Reigns, the storyline where they took it last night? What is your opinion on that?
I was entertained. I liked how there were back and forth moments between Punk and Reigns. Starting with when they first come out and Reigns is shaking everybody's hand and he skips right over CM Punk and all that shit, and then when they're in the cage and they're letting the different people go in at their times, and he ends up stopping Punk and going out before him. It tries to, and then Punk takes off running or whatever, and they're showing their dominance of their alpha male shit or whatever. But it was good back and forth, and then in the match, Reigns was about to go through. They were about to put Reigns through a table. Bronson Reed was about to jump on him with the tsunami or whatever, and they pulled CM Punk pulled Reigns off the table. So yeah, I mean, it just.
Though, but you gotta put all of it in. That was after CM Punk picked up Solo or Jacob for the go to sleep, and Reigns went to go spear Solo. Solo moved and he speared CM Punk.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what.
I remember that part because I walked in the kitchen and then I heard something, like I heard the TV going off, like Reigns speared Punk or something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
This is what I can say about this matchup: storytelling at its finest. I mean,
I love it. That's to me, that's quality wrestling. Wrestling should not be dudes trying to turn it into a sporting event. I understand that you're going to put the title sports entertainment on there, and there is an aspect of a sport to it because these guys are athletes, but you got to be a good actor in there, and you got to be able to follow storylines, and that's what makes it entertaining. And that's what like you said last night, man. Storytelling at its finest last night, dude. They did a hell of a job with the storylines, and that, to me, that's crediting Hunter taking over and doing things, a certain way.
I agree 100%. And at the end, we finally got Reigns offering his hand to CM Punk and them shaking hands, and Paul Heyman in the back. You know what I'm saying? Smiling happy. But we did get that at the end. We did get that hug where CM Punk hugged Paul Heyman, and he said, "Don't forget, you owe me a favor now." We don't know what the favor is.
I got a strong I'll make my prediction right now as to what that favor is. So what's going to end up happening is Reigns has got his OG bloodline back. They're going to push him immediately into the world title contention. He's going to get his title shot. He'll probably win a title, whether it be Gunther's or whether it be who's got the other belt? Cody, whether it be Cody's or whether it be Gunther's. Yep. And then after, if Reigns wins that title, he's going to come to Heyman and be like, now it's time to cash that favor in. I need a world title shot.
Well, see, different from yours is this isn't over with. The bloodline isn't over with. Why? Because Roman Reigns does not have, I believe, what it's called, the Musafala, the red necklace. Yeah, he won last night in War Games, but he does not have that back. This is still setting up, possibly at the Rumble. I believe that it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Muafala necklace. And because whoever has that is the rightful tribal chief. And so I don't see Roman Reigns going on to a title just yet. I think this does lead to what many are saying. It's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania this year. Roman, Cody, and The Rock. So
where does CM Punk play into that, though?
I think that I think that the request that he's going to ask is that I think at the Rumble, it's going to be CM Punk versus Gunther. And I think he's going to want the wise man in his corner. Now, we all know that the wise man leads Roman Reigns. And so Roman's not going to be real keen on Paul Heyman being in the corner of CM Punk when Paul Heyman is his wise man. So
yeah, but at the same time, he's the one that reached out to Punk to even the odds and make sure that they won that back. And it was real slick last night. It was real slick.
Punk's help. Paul Heyman wouldn't got CM Punk's help. Paul Heyman made the deal with CM Punk that whenever you need a favor, I got you for you helping me out in this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so him being the wise man, he's the one that even the odds for Roman. So I mean,
but Roman's not going to be big on his wise man being in the corner of somebody else.
I'm just saying when somebody scratches your back, you got to turn around and scratch theirs, and that's going to be I don't know. And then you got to figure out, like I said, how next year are they going to integrate Brock back into the picture? There's just a lot going on right now, man. I mean, like I said, Damon Priest was the leader of that faction. What was that called with Dominic and all them?
Oh, Judgment Day.
And that's kind of all fell apart at this point. Dom's kind of taken over his little faction shit. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's crazy. We'll see where things go from here. But as far as Survivor Series goes, I was thoroughly entertained with the show for sure.
I give it 3.5, 4 stars out of 5. I thought it was well done. They even though the match was entertaining, the main event, it's not like it was a write-off. It's not like the Bloodline story is done. If anything, it just left us with Paul Heyman supposed to be owing a favor to CM Punk, and then Solo has still got the Muafala. So it's like the storyline continues, and they left us more storylines. I'm hearing that they're
you before we started the show, we were backstage discussing some of this, and you were telling me that the WWE had signed a couple more of the family members, and so you brought up a crazy scenario where there ends up being a third bloodline because you said that the way that it could end up
will come back and instead of siding with Roman, which we all know he's not going to, but instead of siding with Solo, he's going to side with really one of the best talents WWE has signed in recent years, Jacob Fatu. And I think that it's going to be
Samoan werewolf.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to boot Solo, but they just signed Lance Anoye. They have Hikuleo, who's coming in as Tala Tonga, the third brother of the two Tongas. And let me tell you something. Those Tongas can wrestle. They came from New Japan, where they were the IWGP World Tag Team Champions as the Gorillas of Destiny. That's God.
And also, isn't The Rock's daughter part of a developmental contract? So you could see her playing into the bloodline thing.
Well, she's the GM down there as Ava in NXT. And in the women's War Games match last night, we saw two of their family members in Nia Jax and Naomi, who's married to one of the Usos. And they were in that match against each other. There's so much still that they can do. And I'm looking forward to it.
You know who's loving this right now, and that's Sami Zayn, dude. He's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna stay relevant in the main, the main push and all that. I'm not gonna get buried. You know what I'm saying? And like, so.
But where does he come out of this? Because he's going back to Raw with Jay. So it's kind of just like, where does all the people that was in this, where do they go from here? Do they continue in the Bloodline storyline? I would love to get Jimmy and Jay versus the Gorillas of Destiny. I would love to see that tag team match. But once, Jimmy is on Raw, Jay is on SmackDown with the Gorillas of Dynasty, who's with Solo. So it's just like there's so much. And then I'm hearing that for the WWE title, they're wanting at WrestleMania for the heavyweight, they're wanting CM Punk versus Seth. Look for that, because Seth could be pissed that Roman and them brought in CM Punk, who is like his mortal enemy. So I look for that to start building soon. It's
like I said,
time,
they left Survivor Series with several possibilities, man, and I love that, dude. I love that when the show goes off the air, you're still hanging on. You're like, oh man, what the hell's going to happen next? You know what I mean?
So, and that's what pro wrestling should always be about. They should always leave you wanting more, but yet still satisfied. And I felt like WWE did that last night with Survivor Series, man.
I agree. Anyway, we went about 15 minutes over what we were anticipating. Yep. We just wanted to drop a quick review on Survivor Series, and we're going to try to continue to bring y'all more content, man. So just stay tuned. Hit that like and subscribe.
Yep, like, share, subscribe, and we appreciate it. We're getting more subs, we're getting more views, and we appreciate everybody watching our videos. And we'll be back this week with Jet Up, Bear Down, our NFL review and previews, and more tales from the
and like I said, I think we're going to try to do something, whether it be Tuesday night or Wednesday evening, to talk about the latest polls. So we got an idea of how these playoffs are going to shake out.
So we just appreciate everybody that's tuning in, man. And until next time, this has been Tales from the Turnbuckle. We'll see you guys
later.